secret route. Nerve center of Malta.
Yeah. How we doing, Jamie? We're all set?
He does. Very good.
All righty, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. We're going to have a couple of public hearings tonight before we get started with our agenda meeting. Just preliminarily, I'll say that Councilman Hartzell had a legal engagement with his firm that cropped up and he couldn't get it postponed. So he is going to be watching whatever comments come in the public hearing via our YouTube streaming channel. He'll review them at a later date. So he will see whatever you say, and the whole board has any written comments that were submitted. Okay, so the first public hearing that will start at 6 p.m. is the Sewer District Number 2 scale of charges.
I'm sure that's why everyone's
Yeah.
interested to hear.
Yeah. Would anyone like to be heard on that? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing at 6:01. And we'll open the public hearing on the marijuana opt-out. Well, we have two possibilities, and just preliminarily, this board has three options before it. And the matter is on the calendar for next week, a week from tonight. The first one is to do nothing, not opt out of either situation. In that case, Malta could be the site of both dispensaries and on-premises consumption. There could be no public referendum, and there would be no chance for a future town board deciding that a different approach would be better. The second option is to opt out both from dispensaries and on-premises establishments. In that case, the public could petition for a referendum, and the public residents in Malta would decide the issue rather than the town board. And a future town board could always decide to opt out. The third option is to opt out of just one of the two, and that would be to opt out of on-premises consumption but allow retail sales. In that situation, the retail dispensaries would be permitted. The public would not be able to change that decision, nor could a future town board. But the public could petition to allow on-premises, and future town board could opt into the on-premises. So those are the three options that this town board will decide on next week, presumably. And right now, we'd like to open it up for any kind of public comment you'd like the town board to hear.
Hi.
Hi.
John James, I just wanted to state that I do support public consumption and the dispensaries.
Okay, you support both.
Yes.
Okay, so you would like us not to do either opt-out.
Right.
Got it. Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it. Yes, Travis.
Hi. Sorry, I'm late.
How we doing? Travis Feely. Hello. Is it on?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, good. First off, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you guys enjoyed the time and
Happy
spent
Thanksgiving.
some good time with family. As far as my view, I think we should not opt out as a town on either one. I mean, mainly the retail dispensaries. I feel pretty strongly about letting that happen at least. And when I was trying to develop what I wanted to say tonight, I started looking at, benefits of marijuana legalization and all that stuff, and it kind of went down the road of legalizing marijuana. And the fact of the matter is that marijuana is legal in the state of New York at this point. So there's nothing that we can do about that. Banning retail dispensaries or open consumption isn't going to change that. So we need to look at what's, best for the town as far as, the board's concerned, what they think is going to be the right things to do. And things to understand with what's going to happen, as far as the open consumption, anywhere smoking tobacco is allowed, smoking marijuana is going to be allowed. Anywhere, there's going to be delivery systems available.
Except in cars.
In cars, yeah, you can't smoke marijuana in cars, correct. But they will have delivery. There will be, other places that they can, purchase marijuana. People can have it. So as far as trying to limit any kind of safety concerns from having the retail dispensary or the open consumptions, the open consumption areas could, benefit from safety, but as far as the dispensaries, not so much. And hopefully everyone knows that, for each dispensary that's in the town, we'd get 3% of that sales tax. Because it's going to be a 4% marijuana excise tax, 1% goes to the county, 3% goes to us. But that's based on the dispensaries, from my understanding of what I've been reading. So obviously the tax benefits are there, a huge influx of cash. I mean, you just look at other towns. There's numerous articles that have been written on how allowing marijuana dispensaries have kept small towns afloat, especially with everything going on. And, looking at the budget, I think, the board has done a phenomenal job. Kevin, you've done a great job with the budget, but we've also looked at, taking from the fund balance to help kind of balance the budget. Obviously the passage of the ambulance tax has improved that and brought it from pulling 500,000 from the fund to just about 12 grand at this point. So that's a benefit. But if we think about, if we continue down that path, because costs are going to continue to increase. There's been continuous increases in costs. We've done a great job keeping any kind of general town tax out of people's hands. So, that's great. Nobody wants to pay more taxes. But if people want to use marijuana, they're going to have to pay that tax, and that would be a great influx of money for the town, in my opinion. So as we look forward with, any kind of budget shortfalls, any kind of things that are happen, the add of this tax would help benefit to kind of beef up that things that we could put into our infrastructure, that we could put into the ball fields that were such a big conversation about trying to get all that money to build that up, build up some adult recreation, different things of that nature. So it's just things that I'd like the board to think about when they go into their own deliberations. And, obviously everyone has their own opinions and, their kind of gut feelings of what they want to do. But hopefully, when folks are talking about this, you're going to take that home and really think about that past what your own wants are and to what is going to be best for the town. So again, I promote both. I think it'd be great for the town to not do so. I think would be a bit myopic for the future of the town. And to your point, I agree that future town boards could change that. But at that point, what is the market saturation going to look like? Are there going to be any dispensaries wanting to open in town because they're over in Milton, they're over in Ballston, they're down in Round Lake? So it's just something that we need to think about as far as the town for the future growth and fiscal solvency. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Travis. Would anyone else like to be heard? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Ludmila Popova. I live in town of Malta, and I propose not to ban anything. I mean, not to restrict the marijuana businesses in our town.
Not, so you would like the board to do nothing, to
Yep.
opt out of neither?
Well, don't opt out of anything.
Gotcha.
Keep it legal.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Yes, sir.
How you doing? My name's Carmine DiCrescenti, resident in town of Malta. I just wanted to say I don't think the board should opt out of anything, and there's a couple reasons why. The gentleman that went before me stated a number of reasons, which I think he did an excellent job of. But this is only about the retail tier. You can have processors, you're gonna have deliveries, you can have distributors, you can have all these types of different businesses in town, but you're really only voting tonight on dispensaries. So, that's one thing that I think, if we're trying to keep cannabis away from our community, this might be one way that is not, the best way. The tax percentage, 1% to the county, 3% to the local municipality. I mean, if there was a dispensary in this town, and let's just say, they were getting taxed on $5 million, I don't know how much snow plows and dump trucks go for, but, those are real things that our town needs. There's wear and tear on equipment, and I think that's money that could go right towards that. I'm a little disappointed in what Lake George has done with opting out, because I think that, you know, tourists look for it. I think Lake George people go to Lake George that are not from here. And I think people come here from out of town as well. I think we got a great venue in Saratoga. And, you know, myself, I live in Malta, but I like to go to Saratoga. And I think there's other people like me. I think if, you know, you have a town like Saratoga Springs that decides not to opt out, and we were, I think that basically you're just deferring that tax revenue to a neighboring community as well. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
How you doing?
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Rob Arrigo. I am the chairman of the Libertarian Party here in Saratoga County. A lot of you folks know me. Nice to see everybody. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Definitely speaking in favor of keeping dispensaries and you know, even consumption sites legal in all of Saratoga County, but particularly the larger towns along the Northway. I think it's important for a number of reasons. One of which is political, which I think works. I explained to you guys in an email. But I just want to get a quick question around the process, so I understand it. If you opt out of both, there can be a referendum. Is that how it works?
Yes, the public can petition for a referendum.
And when does that process begin and end?
Oh,
Would we know?
I think it could be done whenever the public
It could be done,
submits the
and
petition.
then some November, the voters would decide.
Oh, no, I think it'd be a special election, and that's dictated by, you know, the statutes that say it has to be within X number of days of the petition being certified, something like that,
Okay.
I think.
And then if you select one or the other, then things can change. There's no possible referendum, and things could change in the future, or
If this town board does nothing.
Yes.
Right? That
Yep.
means it doesn't opt out of either one.
yeah.
Nothing can be changed.
You're
It's
allowed- okay.
set in stone.
So there's no referendum possible at that point.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
The
And
only
if
way
you
to
s-
get, the only way to allow for the public to make this decision, as opposed to the 5 members sitting at this table,
Yep.
is to opt out.
Okay. And if you select one and not the other, the same thing, nothing can be changed?
On the one that you
Okay.
leave alone.
All
The
right.
one that you opt out of, that can be changed by the public or by a future town board.
Okay.
And it could be changed a month from now.
Okay, fair enough. I just wanted to get an idea on the process.
Yep.
I still support. I know you guys are probably going to consider staying in on the retail and perhaps not the on-site consumption for all the reasons that were stated previously very eloquently by the speakers. All those things are true and they're logical and they make a lot of sense, particularly for any town looking at the need for revenue, particularly a town like Malta that continues to expand at the rapid pace that it is. And according to the numbers that I saw, 25% increase in the number of new housing units in the town of Malta, far outpassing anybody else in Saratoga County. And so therefore you're going to need more services because you have more people. With that being said, the reality is also that prohibiting dispensaries doesn't do anything. There are dispensaries all over the town of Malta as we speak. There's one probably on this road. There's one in Tim Dunn's neighborhood, I'm sure. One in Craig Warner's neighborhood. And I guarantee you there are dispensaries in the school. They're not legal dispensaries. They're black market dispensaries, but they exist. And what revenue share do you get from black market dispensaries? 0. But from legal dispensaries, you would get significant revenue share. But more importantly, what I want as a person with children in this community is to make sure that black market dispensaries go out of business. And we can't do that through prohibition. We've tried that for 50 years and it doesn't work. But we can do that through legal competition. And so that this way, when somebody chooses to consume a product like this, they don't have to worry about it being laced with some fentanyl or some other contaminant that could possibly kill them. They go into a store the way they go and buy cigarettes or fast food or whatever other bad product. And the process of regulation ensures that those people get a product that's not going to kill them in a matter of seconds. And I think from a public safety standpoint, it makes more sense to try to put the illegal dispensaries out of business through legal competition than it does them maintaining the status quo, where we have a dozen or so dealers in our community who are selling God knows what to God knows who. They don't care if the kid is 8 years old buying or a cancer patient. They don't care. So I think we need to look at it from a public health standpoint too. I long for the day when illegal dispensaries are put out of business, and I think it makes a lot of sense to do that with legal competition. Furthermore, marijuana legalization is extremely popular. A Gallup survey in November found that 68% of Americans favor marijuana legalization, including a majority of Republicans, Democrats, and independents. You know, it's not 1985 anymore. It's not 1993 anymore. People, whether we like it or not, want to be able to consume this product. They believe the benefits outweigh the risk, at least for some. Now, I don't consume. I don't use marijuana. I don't drink alcohol. I don't really do anything. But I don't believe I have the ability. Yeah, I'm really a bore, by the way. I'm great at holiday parties, by the way. But I also don't think I have the moral standing to sort of inflict my will on other people. There are some folks out there that believe they see a benefit from it. God bless them. You know, so long as they do it safely and in moderation, I'm happy. You know, other people enjoy drink. My wife drinks wine all the time. I don't drink wine. You know, she enjoys it. God bless her, right? She's not hurting anybody. She's a vibrant member of the community. She's a benefit to society and so on and so forth. So I see this as a lot in the same vein. You know, people are going to choose to do it. It's whether or not we actually allow them to do it in a legal, regulated fashion where we have probably far fewer risks to their health than if they actually are buying from a black market dealer. So I hope that you guys at least legalize dispensaries. Plus, Saratoga Springs is going to do it anyway, and they don't revenue share with everybody else. So I don't know. I don't think you want to give them all the business. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Rob, appreciate that. Rob, you also wrote a letter to the board. Did you want that to be part of the public record also?
No, you guys keep that private.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
I just want to clarify, he was speaking, I did look up the home rule authorization, and it appears as though a petition would need to be submitted within 45 days of this board's action to be able to force a permissive referendum. So it would need to, a petition equal to 10% of the total numbers of votes cast for governor in the local government. So 10% of the votes cast for governor in the town of Malta, and I'm assuming that would refer to the 2018 election, that would need to be filed within 45 days of this, I believe that's what it's, is that accurate, Steve?
Steve, can you shed light on that?
It's waiting period for 45 days after the board were to adopt it.
So it's not that's not the deadline, you just couldn't do it before then?
No, that's the period of time in which the law is not effective until there's determination to see if a petition is filed. So if you adopted it at the next meeting, 45 days from 12/6 would put us into January. And if a petition, and the correct number is 10% of the 2018 governor's election, sufficient number of petitions were filed, then it gets put to the voters.
But so that petition would need to be filed within 45 days of the adoption?
Correct.
So,
If it isn't filed, then it becomes law.
so it would, within, before January 31st, obviously, whatever that 45 days would be.
Yes, correct.
So it'd be December 6th, starting December 6th, if the board,
January 21st, I think.
right.
So, and then after that, there's no opportunity for a permissive referendum, is the way I'm understanding it.
Correct. Well, under the permissive referendum, there's the alternative method, which would be for the town board to,
Right.
within that same time period.
But I want to make sure that it's clear that it's the permissive referendum option is not available forever. It's available
Correct.
for
There's a limited time. and
45
it's-
days.
Basically, the way to look at it is, if the board were to proceed and opt out of either one or both, then from that vote, there's 45-day waiting period to see if a petition is filed. If a petition of sufficient number of electors is filed, then you have to put it to the voters. And my understanding under the marijuana is that would be a general election, not a special election, but I'd have to verify that.
So that would have to wait till next November?
Correct.
Okay.
Certain.
Okay, thanks. I hope I didn't misspeak on that stuff, especially the timeframe. But correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that with the marijuana thing, the town board couldn't, on its own initiative, provide for a public referendum.
So, my understanding is that, you know, the town board under the municipal home rule has the authority to subject to, anything that's subject to permissive referendum, they can put forth, to the electors directly.
Yeah, I know that's the general rule. In the back of my head somewhere, I thought I read that with marijuana, that option was not available to
I would have
a town board. But we'll check on that, just for the purposes of
I think that
people
would
out
be
there.
informative before next week.
Yeah,
if
yeah, we'll
that's
check that
something we
out.
can- I just want, because this is, you know, there's a lot of moving parts on this. I think it's important for people to understand the process. And I didn't understand the process completely, so thank you for clarifying on that.
Hello. Totally different hat. Okay. I guess my concern is that I feel like information hasn't really been forthwith.
And
as
for the
far as
record, this is
whole
Kathy
thing.
Eitzman. Go ahead,
Oh,
Kathy.
Kathy Eitzman, 60 Round Lake Road, Town of Malta. I just feel like information hasn't been really been given out, and so it's so sketchy. And I guess I'm a little nervous when somebody tries to push something through at the end of the year when there's new people coming on board in January. So that alone kind of makes me a little nervous, the way that the state is putting this forward. As far as dispensaries go, I don't really have a problem with dispensaries. It's not going to put the black market out of business, because you can buy things a lot of places legal, but it's still available illegally, whatever you want to buy. So I don't think it's really going to put that out of business. I'm not in favor of on-site consumptions. I don't really see a benefit to that to the citizens. So that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Ted?
I have one quick, Ted Willett, Malta resident. One quick question is that if the town of Malta decided to opt out, could the village of Round Lake, the Board of Trustees, decide to opt in?
Yes.
So even though they're part of Malta, they can?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's what, just kind of curious. So there is options out there. If this board decided to go one way, the village around Lake could go another.
Yes.
Okay, thank you much.
And that, the 3% would just go to the village, wouldn't go to us,
Correct.
right?
Can I just make one more point?
Sure.
Totally forgot. So Travis Feely again, and to Tim's point, that is correct. The money would just go to the village, not to the town. But also, so it's my understanding that some towns within the county are not full value assessment towns. Is that correct?
Correct.
So if those towns ever were to decide to reassess their property values, our share of sales tax revenue, which is the primary driver of our income, would go down. Is that correct?
No, no,
Okay,
because the equalization rate smooths that out.
okay. I'll have to look into that.
In theory,
Or-
the equalization rate smooths that out,
Okay.
depending on what the disparity.
That's the whole purpose of the
disparity is.
equalization rate.
Okay.
But it's
Set
not
at the
perfect
state,
science
set at the
either.
state level.
Yeah.
And then, just for my own clarification on the referendum part, unless we get a group, say you guys decide to opt out, unless we get a group of people to circulate petitions in the dead of winter to equal 10% of the governor's race in 2018 before COVID, the public has no choice. Is that correct?
Wait, the public has no choice if we do not opt out of
And we
either.
can't get people to go out to gather signatures in the dead of winter to equal 10% of pre-COVID voting.
Well, wait,
He's saying
if
if
we,
we
if,
opt out.
if we opt out. If we
Correct,
do
yeah.
nothing, there's no referendum, there's
Yeah.
no petition.
But if
If
you
we
opt
opt out, then yes, the public could,
Yeah.
put in the public referendum and have it go to the public.
January 20th would be the deadline for that.
So my only point with that is that, yes, it's doable, but that would be a high task to ask people to do at this point, especially 45, in the middle of winter. So
The
just
holidays.
something else to think about. That-
Definitely, and a lot of that'll be, influenced by our answer to the question that was just raised, and that is whether a town board can itself provide for a public referendum. I don't think it can, but if it can, then that solves that problem.
Yeah.
Travis?
And then one final question. Is this something that could have been on the November election? This past November?
As a referendum?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Well, if we had acted, early on, I suppose it could have, right, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, correct, it would, depending on when the town had a vote, decided to pass the opt-out, that would trigger the petition period. But the problem for the towns, this one's another, is that the state of New York is way behind. There's not even an Office of Cannabis Management. There are no regulations to provide any guidance to the town, which is one of the problems that the board faces here, is they have to make a decision without any guidance as to many of the rules and regulations that are gonna manage this process. The state was supposed to have a meeting by September. They haven't complied with the statute, and it's delayed everything for all municipalities. But yes, to answer your question, if the town passed a ordinance or a local law opting out before the election, and the time periods were sufficient under the permissive referendum law, it could have been on the previous ballot.
Now, in the same way that the ambulance tax was put onto the ballot without any kind of petitioning going on, could the board have put this on the ballot without petitioning?
That's the question that we'll have an answer
Yeah.
for by next week.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Travis. Anyone else? Okay, Jen, I know we have one email from Dave Rosenberg that we're going to make part of the record. Do we have any other written comments? Okay, we'll make that part of the public record. And with that, unless there is anyone else who would like to address the board, okay, we'll close this public hearing at 6:26. Thank you very much. And at this point, I ask everyone to join me in a salute to the flag and a silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and I apologize, but I have to add an item tonight, an action item that came up late in the day today, and so maybe we could just put that in right here. We sent it out to the board this afternoon. An issue came up at the county level today with respect to providing testing facilities for COVID tests so that we could process more people. There's been a large emphasis on getting more COVID tests out there so that we can, contribute toward controlling this pandemic. The county has centered on a location right here in Malta at exit 12, right behind the Paneras in Malta Commons. And so we had a meeting there today with county officials and the Commissioner of Health and the Public Works Commissioner. And so I believe that an attempt is going to be made to do that. And questions arose with respect to signage and making sure that traffic flows and that people know where they're going and that people know about the existence of this testing site. And so this proposed resolution would authorize the supervisor in consultation with building and planning director to exempt this testing facility from a given sign regulation on a temporary basis, and it would expire after 6 months. So that is the proposal for this board.
This is a resolution that you want us to act on,
Yes,
so I can say so moved.
yes.
Before,
Well, someone
I'm
else
sorry,
seconded and then
go ahead.
discussion.
Yeah, second.
Okay, discussion.
So my question on this is just, I know we recently had state legislation come down on document transparency, and I just want to make sure that we're not violating this by passing this without making it a public document prior. Are we okay with that?
Can you say that again?
So there was new legislation enacted that I believe went into effect November 8th, somewhere around there, that required any any resolutions that were acted upon, to be acted upon, must be posted at least 24 hours in advance.
The effective date is November 18th, but that law does allow for exceptions if the matter, for instance, only came up and there wasn't sufficient time. So the
Okay.
intent is to make sure there's as much notice as possible, and it said the general rule is 24 hours. However, if there's extenuating circumstances, the board can.
And certainly a
consider.
public health and safety issue it would fit that category, I would say.
Correct, if we want to, otherwise you could not potentially have the site up and properly running. in
Right,
time.
right. Okay, I just wanted to be sure on that. Thank you.
Yeah, we weren't aware that this problem arose until around noon today.
And that was the reason for the lack of notice.
Yeah. No, I just want to make sure we were complying with that, because I knew that new
We-
had just gone into effect, so.
Yeah, we are complying, again, being a brand-new law, there's no
Right.
interpretation of it other than the language that says basically extenuating circumstances, as in this case, it only became aware to the town at noon today, so.
Got it. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, do we have a motion to accept the town clerk minutes of November 4th?
So moved?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, the next item, we have a present on our desks tonight.
No,
The
we
the Town of Malta Comprehensive Plan. Thank you very much.
I said it was a Christmas miracle when I came in.
This is likened to Bigfoot, isn't it? I've heard so much about this.
So
Very
Chris,
exciting.
what can we talk about here? This is
Chris is
terrific.
even looking like Santa Claus today in the red blazer. I love it.
Yes, I'm glad I could give you your gift early this year. And I do apologize for the delay, but we had a little problem with the pandemic.
Yep.
Kind of slowed things down. On behalf of the Comprehensive Master Plan Update Committee members, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to serve our community. The committee was made up of skilled and knowledgeable group of professionals who brought a diverse number of views to each issue. This was enhanced by testimony from public safety officials, attendees at public hearings, department heads, and over 300 Malta residents who took the time to complete our questionnaire and provide suggestions. As you might expect, there were different opinions at times, and each person's opinion was heard out and discussed, not only in a professional way, but in a very pleasant way. All the members were citizens doing their best for Malta. I cannot say enough about the town's planning department. Not only are they skilled professionals, but both supportive and accommodating. The town is fortunate to have people of this caliber. I personally might suggest the town take steps to keep the headhunters from other municipalities at bay. We thank Shays and Engineering for their help in getting the plan to the finish line. I will tell you, this plan is not perfect, nor is any master plan. Even as we are working our way through the plan, things are changing within the town. But I want to be the first to point out a defect in the plan. If you look at one of the infrastructure maps, you will see that Malta lies directly south of the town of Saratoga Springs. I have no idea where Shazen got that map. But I do want you to know that no member of the committee is unaware of the fact that Saratoga Springs changed from a town to a city in 1915. We had hoped to get that changed before tonight. Unfortunately, apparently changing a map is more than 3 mouse clicks. Despite that, we feel the document will be a valuable resource to the town board, and both the planning and zoning board, as well as others. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris, and I'd like to extend our deepest gratitude to all the members of the committee and our staff who did so much work preparing for this. I leafed through it in the past hour, and it appears to be just a tremendous job. So, to every single member of the committee, all volunteers, none of whom got any pay, thank you very, very much. And I'm thinking maybe the board can think about this week, and then next Monday decide how we want to proceed in terms of making a workshop or something like that to further discuss. You want to do it that way?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, sounds good.
If I can kind of just take a minute to kind of echo some of the stuff Chris said. First of all, about the committee, you know how you're on those committees and you got a committee of 8 people and like 3 of them do all the work? This committee was not like that. Every single individual was enthusiastic and contributed, and like Chris said, we might not have agreed on everything, but in the end, we came up with what we think is a plan that reflects, everybody's different opinions about everything. So I'm proud of it. Glad we got it to you before Christmas. And, I'm hoping to continue, of course, to be part of the process of actually implementing it and the next steps.
I guess it's the second night of Hanukkah, so it is,
There you go.
we'll
Right.
qualify it as a gift. then,
Right.
So,
Thanks.
I think you'll be very pleased. I think
Yeah.
it's a great document.
Thanks,
I'm
Cynthia.
excited. Dumb question, but has Al gotten a copy of this?
I don't know, I saw him, oh, yeah, Al is still there, okay.
Let's make sure we get him a copy.
We'll get you one.
You can't have mine.
All right. Okay, unless there's any other discussion on that, we'll move to the next item. And Alyssa, that is to provide a memo to the Town of Boston Town Board to ask them to consider recreation in their scoping. I have that right, Alyssa?
Yeah, the public comment period is tomorrow, so I would be hoping to submit it so it'll be on record for the meeting tomorrow.
We have, our park is right on East Line, which is right on the border of Boston. So, the recreational needs in the town of Boston is obviously going to have an impact on the town of Malta. And so we would like that to be in the scope of, their plans. So if the board is okay with that, then, we'll authorize Alyssa to send that request in.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I don't have any
You're
issues.
good? Okay, Alyssa, we're
Hopefully they actually
we're good.
consider our park in
All
the
right.
park and other master plan.
Okay. Any announcements or anything from town board members? Or department heads, other than what we'd already discussed? Questions or comments from town residents? Would anyone like to address the board on matters other than what were the subject of the public hearings?
Nothing, Kathy?
Or anything else, actually?
Wow.
Okay.
You feeling okay?
Seniors are alive and doing well.
Very good.
Roger, Hearn Road looked great today with the snow removal. In fact, it wasn't even wet. Just curious if you had anything to do with that, because phenomenal job.
All righty. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go over the action items that will be on the agenda for next week, a week from today. The first one will be to adopt the sewer district scale of charges. It's kind of a routine thing. I don't think there's any real problem in there. The next item on the agenda is a combination of two, and those are the two options that this town board will be faced with coming out of today's public hearing on the marijuana issue. The next one will be to award the engineering sewer professional services proposals, and that is to CT Mail. We went over that in detail, and the town board, came to that resolution. We had excellent candidates, but excellent 3, finalists. But this one, the decision's been made to go with CT Mail, and that will be up for the board next week, if that's what the decision still is. Okay, next item is to award the LFAF improvement project, the bids. That's on our lighting.
And did this came in within our budget and everybody's satisfied with the companies and?
I
believe all the information was distributed to the board.
It was.
With the
Yeah.
LA Group's recommendation to award the bids to the apparent two low bidders, and also the procurement contract for the sports field lighting to Musco Sports Lighting. Low bids, if you want them summarized, Darren, I'll just summarize them real quick.
Sure.
The general contractor would be Evolution Construction Services at $280,849. The electrical contract would be Stilson Electric at $345,200. We have both had prior experience with both those contractors. Evolution has done work at the Malta Community Park for us. They also have done work for Rogers Department with paving. They've helped us over at High Point. The electrical contract being Stilson, they've done most of the electrical work anytime we did a major road construction project. They were the contractors. Musco Sports Lighting was is a well-known product that is highly recommended by CT Mail. They've got lights in the area. They come with, I believe it's like a 25-year warranty. You also will have to, you had designated yourself as lead agency previously. You should probably just finalize this short environmental assessment form next week. It has been prepared. There's some questions for you to go through, but we don't see anything as that would be significant in relation to this. You know, it's just an addition to an existing park. So that's where you stand. Yes, it was within budget. It's actually below what they had anticipated.
Yep.
I think it's 14 to 15% below what they anticipated. So that's all good news. And there's a $250,000 grant for this project as well that has been awarded, and is I've been informed it's in its final stages down at DASNY. Okay, so that paperwork should be coming out officially in the next few weeks, I'm hoping. So the board approves this award on December 6th. We'll be contacting NICEAG immediately to put forth the request to extend the electrical service over and start that process moving.
That's great.
Okay, thanks,
Great
Kevin.
news.
And yeah, my plan at least, Steve, was to go over the questions and the environmental assessment form next week.
Yes, thanks, Kevin, for the reminder, but yes, I think that's necessary.
And then we gotta start working on finding the next grant to get those soccer
Yeah,
lights.
that's right.
Yeah, because I think that really could be a facility that's used even more than it is
For
now.
sure, yeah,
You know, because soccer clubs and stuff like that, so.
absolutely.
Yep.
Great stuff.
Alrighty, the next item on the agenda for next week will be the Shazen Global Foundries contract for 2022. The same kind of thing we enter into on a yearly basis. And after that, it will be the Fire Service Award Program that comes up on a yearly basis. The 2022 wage and salary structure and wage and salary schedule. These routine forms that we do every year. The next item on the agenda will be to authorize the electronic payment of tax bills. Candace isn't here, is she? No. Okay. This would just, give a little more flexibility to Candace, our tax receiver, to accept electronic payment of the tax bills. Next item is to appoint a planner, right, Jamie? We got that on store? Excellent.
Exciting.
She looks just perfect. I mean, you've scored pretty well. It looks like hopefully it all works out like she's gonna get us all out running.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
and I are already talking about what project we wanna have worked on.
yeah, well, good. I know you guys could use the extra help. So you don't have too much going on. So yeah, nice job.
But now that the comp plan's gonna be done, I mean,
Yeah,
you guys,
exactly.
you're done with it
Yeah.
now, so.
We have a few excellent hires recently, so the town of Malta is getting to be in very good shape here. Okay, the 2021 vacation carryover, we don't have any names yet, but I think we will have a few next week for this board to consider as to whether to allow the vacation carryovers. And we'll have a Maltaville water grant application to authorize next time, right, Kevin?
Correct.
And we will probably have some budget transfers?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other town business for tonight? Any other comments or questions from town residents? Ted?
I just wouldn't, the reason why I'm asking about the village of Round Lake and regard to opting her out, is there any indication at the present time that the mayor and the board of trustees in the village are going to go ahead and opt in? Do you have any word from them of what actually they're going to do?
I don't know that there's been anything official, but I have talked to both two of their trustees and the mayor, and not to commit or speak for them, but I would be very surprised if they opted out.
And remember, you don't have to opt in.
Right.
If you do nothing, you're in.
Well, that's because if they go ahead and proceed and move forward, if they don't do anything at all, then they're in. As pointed out, members here of the board and others have pointed out, that 3% in the sales tax seems to be a driving force. I would think that maybe perhaps Malta could recoup some of the money that they spend supporting the village of Round Lake Fire Department.
Okay.
We spend a great deal amount of money supporting that protection down in the village, and the village residents are getting a free ride. So if they go ahead and they go forward there, I would expect the future budget to reflect money coming back into our budget.
All righty.
Ted, how exactly is that set up now? Well, if you could explain what you mean by that with the fire company.
What I understand is that Malta cuts 2 checks, one for the Malta Ridge and one for the village of Round Lake Fire Department. In the village, that money goes to the village coffers and then is dished out to the fire department upon their request that they need things. So the actual accountability of funds, of where it's, who gets what, and how it's spent, has always been a question in my mind. And from what I understand, is the village of Round Lake itself does not pay fire protection on their property tax.
I believe that's correct. If you look at the property tax bills for the houses in the village of Round Lake, there is no entry for fire services, as opposed to the ones in the rest of the town.
Gift close to $1 million a year supporting, and not that I don't support the fire department, so don't anyone get that idea that I'm against the fire department. What I'm about is recouping money. So if we're going to get 3% back on a sales tax by having dispensaries or that sort of thing, and if Malta does the same thing, it's fine, but that additional revenue coming into the village, I would hope to see that they can at least step up and pay their fair share.
So, if I understand this correctly, so out of the roughly $1 million, just shy of $1 million, the town of Malta pays Round Lake Hose each year. Then there's no guarantee that we are aware of as a town that that is going toward, all of it's going toward fire protection? Is that true, Kevin?
No.
We enter into negotiations with both companies to provide us for fire protection, okay? We negotiate and we say, well, negotiate what that fee is, okay? And that fee is then turned over to the village of Round Lake or the Malta Ridge Volunteer Fire Company, and their responsibility is to provide us with fire protection services. They're gonna have to have equipment, they're gonna have to have buildings. Some of it's owned by the village, some of it's owned by the hose company. In the end, when the alarm rings, they have to respond and they have to fight that fire. If you're not happy with the quality of services that they're providing, then there's, then they're in breach of their contract and you go for it that way. But it's a negotiated contract, and they've said point blank in the past, we've negotiated a contract, we're providing you with service, and we will provide you with that service.
All right, that much I understand, but in terms of where the money actually goes, if it's going to the village,
It goes to the village
can the
around.
village use that for anything other than fire protection?
The village will use it as a revenue source within their budget to provide for the needs of their community, including providing fire protection to the town of Malta, which is a financial responsibility of the village to do so by contract.
So they can use it for things other than fire protection.
It's a general revenue, so I'm not going to state how they're using
I
that
think I know
money.
the answer.
I'm not gonna state that, I'm not gonna go on the record saying that they're using, yeah.
Well, that's an eye-opener for me. I've got to be honest.
Hey, Teddy.
You know, we have conversations with both fire departments in terms of, you know, their expenses and their needs, et cetera, et cetera. The money given to each is equal. You know, attempts have been made historically to, you know, make sure that, you know, what we're giving is, you know, providing fire and not for some other thing. So, I mean, but you're right that there's no
And that's
absolute.
my point, because it's not that I don't trust or do trust either the fire company in Round Lake or the mayor or anyone. But if we're paying nearly $1 million a year from this town, I would certainly like to know that that's exactly where it's going, is fire protection. Not to a new dump truck, not that that's happening, make that be known. But you get my idea, my point, that's my question.
Kevin, do we have some indication that these funds are being
Right,
misappropriated?
don't we get financials from them?
I didn't say anything about
Yeah.
misappropriation.
No, but a lot of people have.
I didn't say anything about any misappropriation. I think you should contact the village for more information about the expenditure of their funds. They're gonna say that they, you know, how they expend those for it, and they're saying, you provided us with revenues for us, we're providing you with a service. That is our contractual relationship, and we're fulfilling our responsibility to the town of Malta.
And I mean, similar to our books, aren't they audited on an annual basis based on the village is not audited?
The
It's a
village
nonprofit.
is not audited. I'm gonna guess they're not audited. They have to file an annual report with the state comptroller's office. They might have some level of financial statements prepared, but I know the annual report to the comptroller's office, that's a mandatory. That's a definite. I don't think they get enough federal aid that would require an audit, okay?
And again, I'm not suggesting any misappropriation by any stretch. However, I'm curious as to how this setup is working and how it has been working. If these things are true, if those monies aren't guaranteed that that's exactly where they're gonna go, that's just a little bit concerning to me.
Well, I'll give you an idea, over 20-some odd years ago, in this room here, Jerry Winters was sitting on a board, and all Dave Lee and others, and I had asked that question of why it's being done that way, and how the money is being distributed. And God bless his and rest his soul there, Jerry just kind of threw his hands up and said, well, that's the way we always did it. That's the answer I got then, and it's, apparently it's the
Same answer.
That's the way it's always been done. And there's, the question is, that I'm looking at is saying, is that Malta has been carrying the weight. And I think our sister town, if they're going to be in a position of receiving additional revenue, either sales tax or other means, that they share with their big sister.
All right,
That's the point I'm trying to make here.
got it. They planning on selling this stuff in Leah's Bakery or something?
Boy, we answered a lot of questions tonight.
There's a lot being uncovered tonight, isn't there? That's
All
why
right.
it's always packed.
Any other comments for the board? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?